Greetings and very welcome back to my humble neck of the YouTube woods. I hope everyone is doing well. So basically we are gathered here today to try our best to muddle through something I've been tagged in by the good Sir Subliminal VCR, and he basically did a top 10 video game list of all time, which is kudos to him because I personally find that incredibly difficult to do, especially for someone like myself and himself who has been gaming for so long and plays so many different genres and types of games. So I'm attempting to do that, but truth be told, I am bending the rules, so to speak, a lot. So I'm putting a little bit of a cheeky twist on it in the sense of I am going to do video game series of all time. So that way I can lump a hell of a lot more games in rather than just picking an individual game and a top 10. So I'll dive straight in, or at least attempt to, and probably a shock to nobody. Resident Evil series is going to be my number one of all time. And the main reason for that is the nostalgia and the fact that I've grown up alongside that series and I've seen it mutate and evolve over time, and the characters and the twists and turns and trials and tribulations and so on and so forth. For good, bad, or indifferent, I won't go into any details on these series. Not so much for spoilers' sake, just the fact that we'd be here forever, you know? I always find video games relaxing and calming to talk about, and we'd be here all year, you know? So first, Resident Evil series. Second, for very similar reasons, it is the Metal Gear Solid series. So we have some stealthy tactical espionage action. Now, very similarly, I stumbled across that in the mid-90s and I'm still keeping track of it today. And there's been a ton of, ups and downs and character development and retcons and revelations and so on and so forth in that series as well. And there's a little bit of, wholesome philosophy in Metal Gear Solid as well, truth be told. And elements of it are quite thought-provoking. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid number 2. And those top 2 have probably been there since I played the first game in each series. So they have good longevity with me in that regard. Third, and this one is probably bending the rules even a little more so, is the Mass Effect and Dragon Age series. So they're both made by BioWare. One of them is kind of a sci-fi orientated RPG, Western RPG, and the other one is, kind of a traditional fantasy RPG, if you will. So you have Mass Effect and Dragon Age. But they're very similar, in my opinion, bar the setting. You have companions and allies, and there's kind of moral decisions and so on, and role-playing shenanigans going on. I really, looking through a vegan lens and an animal rights kind of lens, Mass Effect is brilliant in that regard, as in you have these kind of really might makes right powerful beings out there in the form of the Reapers, and they kind of guide other sentient beings, or sapient beings in this case, I suppose, up to a point of development, and then they harvest them, which is obviously a massive euphemism for, mass slaughter or perpetual genocide type thing. And they see themselves so above those other species that their wants and values, inherent values, just aren't taken into consideration at all. So from a moral point of view, on a galactic scale, the story of that really resonates with me, Brilliant series, to be fair. I love them all. I won't talk about the individual games because, again, we'll be here forever. But yeah, rather cheekily, and I do apologize, Subliminal VCR. If I cross the line, you let me know, okay? But I'm lumping Mass Effect and the Dragon Age series in to number 3. Number 4 is more stealth action, and it's kind of an old school title that hasn't been around for a good while, It's been in the shadows, so to speak, for far too long, in my opinion. And that is the Tenchu Stealth Assassin series. Most of my memories are on the PlayStation 1 of this series with, Stealth Assassins and Birth of the Stealth Assassins. But then we had The Wrath of Heaven, I think, on the PlayStation 2. So yeah, it's another series that I kind of hold close to my heart, particularly the second one, which is a prequel, The Birth of the Stealth Assassins. And it was one of the earliest games I came across where they had that different perspective. You got to play the story as one character, Ricky Maru, then you played as Ayame and Maru, and each character had their own perspective on the same battles and who they encountered, and it gave you a more holistic view. And back then, that kind of blew my mind to see these different perspectives and different angles. And yeah, it was a bit ambiguous on the ethical and moral front as well, is that even the villains, had good intentions, so to speak, or were battling oppression in their own way, and it got fairly complicated and convoluted and everything. So, yeah, number 4 is Tenchu, Stealth Assassin series. Number 5 is a series that I personally think just doesn't get enough love, and you can let me know if you feel similarly, or is it where it belongs type thing. But I've gone with the Dishonored series. It's another kind of stealth orientated game, but with more, mysticism involved. I suppose you have the kind of the void, if you will, and you have the outsider. And so there is only 3 games in this series, to the best of my knowledge. I've platinumed all 3: the original Dishonored, and then you have Dishonored 2, and then you have the Death of the Outsider. I loved all 3 of them, I have to admit, particularly the trophies where you had to go through the entire game on a certain difficulty without being spotted. Loved it. So much fun. But the world that they built and the characters and so on is just brilliant to me. I also like the fact that these type of games are usually first-person shooters, but this was more kind of powers/melee orientated, with a little bit of shooting involved. Well, yeah, so the Dishonored series manages to make it into the top 5. Next up, I went with the Fallout series, and this is an interesting one in the sense of I didn't play the first 2 in the series. I played Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout 4. I loved them all, platinum them all. But the one that really solidified it, rather probably controversially, is Fallout 76. And that's because I came late to that, so it was patched and there was NPCs in the game at this stage. And I actually ended up playing through it mostly. I did solo a good chunk of it with my eldest nephew Tom. And there's not a massive age gap between myself and Tom. He is in his mid-30s and I am in my late 30s. Very late 30s, in fact, at this stage. And, it was just so much fun. We just played through the game and we were talking on the headset, and just really modern co-op memories kind of solidified Fallout as number 6. And next up, and this is really cheeky, even more cheeky than merging Mass Effect and Dragon Age in number 3. So yeah, hear me out though. In number 7, and these types of games are games I just kind of kick back and can kind of play easy breezy, dip in for a couple of hours, or half an hour, whatever the case may be, save it, go off and come back. Now, they're all first-person shooters. And I've gone with Bioshock, Borderlands, and Far Cry. And these are 3 completely different series, but to me, they're all very similar in the sense of they're kind of easy breezy, fun to play first-person shooters. Now, obviously, Borderlands is more tongue-in-cheek, slapstick kind of FPS, and Far Cry, in a similar vein. There are some melancholy and some thought-provoking elements, more so in Bioshock, to be fair. That gets a little bit more philosophical and interesting while you're adventuring through Rapture and Columbia and so on. Well, yeah, so I'm in number 7. I'm actually lumping those 3 series in because they all kind of fit in that zone in my mind's eye when I'm in the mood to play that type of game. They're the series that I'll go to. In in the series will be a very retro one, and the one that started it all for me is the Super Mario Bros. Series. The original Super Mario Bros. is the first video game I really remember having my mind blown on, and just controlling that little legendary pixelated Mario. And just to think of how far he's come now, that whole series, and he's just been a gaming powerhouse ever since, really, hasn't he? And although I'm a PlayStation man, and I think the last Nintendo console I had that really put time into was the GameCube. I did have a Wii and I did have a 3DS, but I only played a handful of titles on those. Nonetheless, whenever I see Mario or any of the characters in that series, it always makes me smile. You know, it's like running into an old friend. Your childhood just kind of comes back to you, you know. So they more than deserve to at least get into the top 10 even these days, although I only dip in from time to time on the gaming front these days. So yeah, the Super Mario Bros. In number 8. Number 9 is there on merit more so than anything else, and perhaps time invested, because when I was playing this game, it kind of sucked up all of my time and energy. I was working and spending time with the family, and if I was gaming, this was the only thing I was playing. Everything else was just kind of forgotten about, and that's World of Warcraft. And I can't think of how long that lasted for, you know, somewhere between 5 to maybe 8 years. But a lot of my time was invested on and off in World of Warcraft. You know, my main character, a paladin, PJ Venom, of Irish honour, or in more recent years, vegan virtue. So yeah, World of Warcraft, I think, definitely earns its place there, to be fair. Even though I sometimes forget about it, I still dip in from time to time as the years go by. When the stars align and the moon is full, I'll visit Azeroth and see how things have evolved, for better or for worse. So number 9, World of Warcraft. And last but not least, and I was quite surprised at this, but similarly to World of Warcraft, I kind of felt like I had to put it in, and that is the Sims series. So I played The Sims 1 a good bit, and this was back in the day when The Sims was considered a girly game. I don't know if any of you remember that, but it was kind of taboo for a while for a lad to play The Sims, as crazy as that sounds. I don't put much thought or negative energy into that type of nonsense, to be honest with you. If you're getting genuine joy from a genre or a game, and you're not harming anybody, you just get stuck in, you know, have fun. Don't let any naysayers drag you down on silly things like that, you know. But I played The Sims 1. I really got stuck into The Sims 2, I think probably more than any of them. And I've really fond memories of that one, because about 4 of my best friends would play their character in the same neighborhood on The Sims. It's like 3 of us would say play on the console, wherever we were playing, probably multi-tap action back then in that era. And while we 3 of us were distracted on the console, somebody would go on and play a little bit with their character. So we got to see the neighborhood evolve, you know, our friends' houses and careers and partners in The Sims and so on. And you'd see them when you're playing your single player game rambling around the town and stuff, and it was a lot of fun, you know. I even have a funny memory of 2 of my friends back then, which is really funny to think of now. But while one of my friends was on the console, the other friend started chatting up the other friend's Sims partner as a joke. And of course, the NPC Sims are usually easy to take to you, and they're quite fickle in that regard. And it actually turned into an argument between the 2, which was really funny to think of now, you know. So yeah, but there's a lot of funny memories to do with The Sims, and when 4 or 5 of my friends were playing in The Sims 2 specifically. I did dip into The Sims 3 a little bit, and I managed to platinum The Sims 4 on the PlayStation 4 a couple of years back, which I was happy to do. And similar to something that didn't make the list, but Worms, I managed to platinum a Worms game, which is another game that didn't make the top 10, but you know, another series that I'm very fond of. But I've already bended the rules a lot, I'd imagine, so I'm not being too cheeky. And I even played that spin-off Sims Medieval, I believe. I played that to bits on the PC back in the day. So yeah, this number 10, surprising even to me, is the Sims series. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope I muddled through that. Feel free, I won't actually tag anybody in particular, but if anybody feels the mood to get stuck into a top 10 video game series of all time, or indeed, as Subliminal VCR did, just a top 10 video games of all time, please do. And if I got anything horribly wrong, or you have a completely different opinion, please feel free to get stuck in the comments, because the interaction in the community is the best part of YouTube for me, you know. Anything to do with gaming is always so calming and relaxing and fun to me, you know. So that was my attempt to muddle through this. Hopefully it's sufficient. Subliminal VCR, good sir. And thanks for tagging us in the first place and getting the ball rolling on this, because these challenges do be quite fun, you know. And that's pretty much it. I shall love yous and leave yous. Look after yourselves and each other. Be kind to all kinds, and slán a bhaile.